Well, I told you I'd be back with an update on the corn. I'm going to start here. I was just in the field. I thought I would dig up some roots on this new Pioneer 100-day corn that they have a lot of confidence in that's going to do well for them. And I can't even get the spade into the ground. It's so dry and so hard. I'll just give you an idea here. Just take a look at the cracks here. You can see those cracks are just huge along here. It's so dry, it's just incredible. So I'm just going to show you on the outside here. I actually have this first 6 rows here. And actually, I would say the corn is probably a tad bit taller than I thought it might be. But ear placement looks about right. It doesn't look like it's too high. So the little extra height there of probably about 12 inches higher than I thought it might be, I wouldn't say would be a problem, because your weight of your corn looks like it's down in a reasonable area here. It's not sticking up, you know, way up and kind of near my shoulder. So I think ear placement looks good on it. If we weren't so dry, it'd help. I'd be able to see a little bit how it was doing on a normal year, but I'm just gonna take this one off here. Let's take a look at it, because it looks like it pollinated well, even though we've had really hot weather. When I was gone on my trip, the crops really took the heat really took a toll on it, and this week hasn't really been much better here. Hold on just a second. There we go. So I'll tear into this ear here. Hopefully get it on the camera well. Wow. Kind of impressed. If we had some moisture, this corn may come out pretty well there yet. Let's take a close look at it. Look at how nicely it pollinated. Just a beautiful ear. You know, if we could get rain on it, we may be looking at a pretty decent crop here. We have rain chances, they say, in the next couple of days. You know, they're talking maybe a couple inches, heavy rain and so forth. They've already scaled that back. So I don't know if I have much more hope for, you know, hopefully even a half an inch, 3/4 to an inch. It's not probably going to do a lot as dry as we are here, but it, you know, it certainly help hopefully get us to maybe another rain chance. But this week we've seen 90s temperatures with heat indexes near 100, and that is not looking well for having any kind of a bumper crop. Of course, is basically out of the question at this point. It's just too dry. We'll take a look at that 9624 I bragged up last year. I thought that looks pretty good again this year. Matter of fact, this 100-day looks good, don't get me wrong. This 100-day looks, I really like what I'm seeing out of it right now. But let's go back and take a look at that 9624 and see what that looks like this year. We have some plane noise in the background because they're spraying for pests in the soybeans, which we already got that covered. I'll go into that here in just a bit. I got all mine sprayed this week. Here's your 9624 of Pioneer. Like I say, as you can see by just standing next to it, you can see it's not a real tall hybrid. It's very short to look at, and there is some dryness in here, certainly. But otherwise, I thought this one was holding up pretty well, considering how dry this field normally is. I'm just gonna grab an ear off here. To kind of give you an idea here of what the plants look like. I'm just gonna grab an ear and let's take a look at this and see what this one looks like. As far as pollination goes, boy, that ear sure feels good and round. So let's take her up and peel her back, see what we've got. He's flying right over my head. I think he saw me down here. I think Looked like he was kind of doing that maybe on purpose, because I was down there watching him a little bit ago. We'll take a look at this one now. We'll peel her back. Again, very nice looking ear on 9624. Even in these dry conditions. Look at how nicely that ear populated. And very nice looking ear. We're missing, you know, a couple of seeds right in there, but otherwise very nicely pollinated. Really nice looking ear. Get some rain on that, I think we could still be looking at a fairly decent yield. 9955 is just an impressive looking corn. Just to look at the plant. I mean, it's not super tall. It's as tall as I want to see it. Again, has a very nice looking ear. The ear placement on the corn is real good. I'll just give you a little sample. As you can see, it's fairly dry in here, but we had real nice early growth. Ear placement is about the same as I'd say that 100-day was. Here, I'm gonna put the camera down here a second. A very nice looking ear here also on the 9955. Looks really nice. Get rain on that yet, even as dry as we are. That could turn out to be pretty decent yield. Even though, look at how dry we are. And look at the size of those cracks in the ground. As you can see from the ground level here, I mean, we're really burning up because of the drought. And yet, puts out an ear like that. That's impressive. Gives me hope, gives me promise yet on this 4th day of August. Here up in my grain bin site, I have the 9955. It's the other side of the field that I just shown you. And you know, it's sure it's suffering dryness, as you can see. The drought is hard on it. Ground is really cracking up. I mean, you dig down there and it's like you can't find any moisture. You almost wonder, what is it living on? But wow, you know, it is an impressive looking corn just to look at it. Sure, there's stalks. I don't want to see a corn any taller than this. The placement here is probably just I'd say about right. I don't really want to see it lower than that either. I mean, you've got some ears, you know, at that 3.5 feet up to, you know, 4 foot placement there. If it gets too low, that gets to be more difficult too. But it is a very impressive corn to look at. I just thought I'd give you another look at it. So we're gonna go and we're gonna take a look at a couple of beans, and I'm gonna do a little recap on them because I found a weakness in a bean I was very impressed with. Let's go look. We're standing in the field where I tried that Golden Harvest number. I'll put it up on the screen because it's a 1.3 maturity. Can never remember these numbers when I get out here. I was so impressed with that bean. It took iron chlorosis like no bean I think I've seen in 20 years. And it fills out 30-inch rows really nice. It puts on nice pods. Looks like the beans are going to be big in those pods. It's going to really put on the yield. However, I did find out one weakness, and you'd only find it out on a year like this year. I don't know if you can see this, but I'll try to show you on the camera and we'll see if it can pick it up. But it can't take dryness. When I was out here spraying my beans, I really picked that up. It has a terrible time. So right here, you go that way, that's the Pioneer number. You go that way, that's a Golden Harvest number. And you can basically see it right in the camera how these beans are really suffering from this heat and humidity, high heat indexes, whereas the Pioneer number is like all the other numbers I have, is managing that heat much better. And so I don't know how that's going to affect yield here on these. This is an earlier bean, just a little bit earlier than the other next to it. But I really noticed that when I was going through spraying. Now we had sprayed, not necessarily for aphids, but I had clover worms so bad, and I had shown you that on other videos, and so I finally had to just go in there and spray them, because in some areas it was really getting bad to the point where yield is going to be suffering. Where I didn't have clover worms so bad, I actually had higher aphid numbers in those areas, is what I was finding. It'd be kind of interesting if there's other farmers from other areas, if they noticed that number, where there's higher clover worms, there seems to be less aphids, and where there's lower clover worm numbers, there seem to be higher numbers of aphids. So I'm not sure if that was kind of why I wasn't finding so many aphids where I was finding lots of clover worms. I just don't know that. I just thought it was interesting, and it was kind of, would like to see if there's other information on that, or if anyone else saw that same type of scenario in their fields. I'm checking some soybeans here that was next to a road ditch. These, as you can see, are really getting eaten up. Okay, a lot of that was not clover worms, but it was grasshoppers. This pesticide takes care of grasshoppers too. Oh, here we go. We'll see, you can see. Okay, so we've got a clover worm that's dead. We got a grasshopper. We've got a grasshopper. And I think I had another grasshopper too. I thought there was 3 of them I saw in here. So, you know, we're seeing a good kill so far on the clover worms and the grasshoppers that I've noticed. I'm just a little worried about the aphids yet, that we're getting a good kill on them. Let's check one more spot. So I'm over in another part of the field here, and I did find one aphid that was still alive. And if I see one, I'm sure there's many more. I was also looking, clover worms are already drying up, so it's a little harder to find them. But, yeah, right here. See, like right there, there's clover worm there. I noticed the small ones especially, they seem to have died pretty fast. The larger ones probably took an extra day or so, but their activity pretty much is over with. As you see, it's been dropping a lot of leaves in this drought that we're having. I've been noticing there's been some blossoms and pods that are real tiny. You know, they were coming out towards the top, and bean plants are dropping them off too. So we're just going to be hurt this year. We're not going to be looking at bumper yields by any means this year. See what else we see. It actually is pretty hard after you spray. Oh, here we go. Here's another one right there, and actually that would have been a pretty good size one, and it isn't like it's quite dead. I mean, it's pretty much had it, but it's still trying to squirm its head around a little bit, as you can see. So like I said, I noticed that the larger clover worms were a little slower to die, and actually that's what I'm finding with the aphids too. If they're real tiny, they're probably dying off pretty fast. The larger ones takes them a little bit longer. I conclude this video with this, because I don't think there's going to be anything else here that I could show you new. I have to get the leaves off to dig for the clover worms that are dead on the ground, and the real little ones, they're almost impossible to find. So I think we got a handle on this quickly, and certainly wouldn't have wanted to wait any longer than what I did. Otherwise, the damage would have been bad enough. They would just start drawing back our yield. The pests would start drawing back our yield as well as the drought. And with the drought having its impact on the bean plants, the bean plants just needed all the help they could get right now. They don't need anything sucking on them, chewing on them, cutting their pods off, blossoms, what have you. they needed all the help they could get early on. So I don't have any regrets of spraying this early. Now, about the corn, I told you on the video before this, I wasn't sure what I was going to do as far as putting Coron on or not. Well, for most of my acres, I pretty much wrote that off. The corn is just too dry and too large of areas of the field. As you could see from my last video, I got a lot of acres like that. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. So I've crossed most all my fields off of putting Coron on. I'm still open to maybe a field or two if we did happen to get like 2 inches of rain or more in this event. It's a little hard to imagine right now, but you never know. It certainly could be possible. Then I'd probably go back and say, hey, I need to take another look at this. Let's just get it done on a couple of my best looking fields yet. So it's not totally off the drawing board, but I would say pretty close to saying if we miss out on any good rain this weekend, there won't be any Coron on. So that's the position I decided to take on that for this year. I did do a nitrate test earlier on one of the fields, and it showed plenty of nitrogen for that corn crop. So whether I get help with that Coron or not, I guess is questionable, and that's why I decided to hold off on it. So until my next crop update, well, I hope you're having rain and hope your weather isn't as hot as what we've been having.